Hey, great to be with you. Before we get into the Word, I just want to say welcome to road construction season in Minnesota. Come on, let's get some praise going here. Each of you here in the building had to navigate the road construction out there, right? Got to wind through the tight lanes, avoid hitting maybe a curb. I know I've come close to a few times of the curb, of hitting that, and it's possible you even snagged a cone on the way. So with that, here's what I want you to do, is go ahead to the person next to you and just say, hey, you made it. I am glad you're here. Fist bump, high five. You made it. I'm glad you're here. Wow, I can just already see the energy that's in this room of like you're really excited about, I don't know if it's the road construction now that I got you distracted on or just today, but glad you're here. And for all of you that's watching online, I want you to envision the last time you drove through a construction zone. And here's why. I'm calling today's message patience. When life is under construction. Everybody hear the old boy? Yeah. It's like, so for all of us right now, just we're going into some construction zone here, so just take a couple deep breaths of like, whew. Yes, patience. It's a slow down time. We've got the cones out. That road construction you drove through, it's actually the perfect picture for what we're going to talk about today as we move to the next fruit of the Spirit on patience. The reality is, anytime we see construction, it means something is being built or repaired. Well, let's face it. While it's happening, it's really kind of an inconvenience, right? It's messy, it's slow, it's frustrating at times. Anybody relate? It's like road construction. It's not something of like, when I see the cones, it's like, or detour ahead, it's like, that's not something that I hear the joy inside of me for it. So as you think about that, in this series, we've been talking about love, peace, love, joy, and peace. And each one is very foundational. Each one is interplaying with each other. But as we look at patience, I want us to lean in. Today's the day to really lean in. We're going through some road construction here, and we want to see it from a different perspective. Because yesterday I drove through the road construction, and it's like, okay, what's the perspective that I need to have in preparation even for today? Because one of the hardest things in life is feeling like you know what God is calling you to do, but nothing is opening up in the way you thought it would. You had faith for the journey, but now you're left holding all these questions you never expected to carry. Patience is what forms in us when the road is blocked and we don't get to pick the pace. That's what happened when we drove here today. Part of the road is blocked. Now, you could try and go through it, but good luck, right? But for many of us, the pace is much slower than what we want it to go. So today, as we want to dig in, I want to look at two examples in the Word where it gives us this building patience are through the stories of Joseph and Moses. Two different men, two similar callings, both connected to God's people in Egypt, both called to bring deliverance to the Israelites in some form. And both experienced, in fact, decades of delay. Not because they weren't called, but because the way they saw themselves, get that, the way they saw themselves, they still needed to be transformed. They weren't ready yet to see themselves the way God already did. Joseph was young, gifted, and filled with pride. Moses was capable, but crippled by insecurity. Joseph and Moses stepped toward their calling, and each ended in a season of silence and waiting. Why? Because God loved them too much to rush what he was building. And that's where the fruit of patience starts to take shape. Joseph had a dream, literally. And in his dream, God showed him that one day he'd be in a position of influence, even over his own father, his mother, and his brothers. And Joseph believed it, and it was in his immaturity he bragged, he postured, and even alienated the people around him. This began his personal construction season, which included being betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery. He was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and then forgotten in prison. But each of those places were a construction site in his life. God was repairing, but get this, he was upgrading Joseph's character. See, that's what God wants to do. He's always wanting to upgrade us. The road construction out here is going to be an upgrade for the city of Hanover. We are reminded in Genesis 32, 2, and also in verse 21, the Lord was with Joseph. The Lord is with you. The Lord is with you. Joseph didn't know it at the time, but God was growing him into the kind of man who would carry the dream without it crumbling under God. Many times we don't know it at the time either, do we? But he knows what we need to go through to upgrade us. As many of you know, last summer, I made the decision to change career paths to be more present with my family. Months before I made the change, I knew I was being called back into coaching and developing leaders full time. I spent months thinking about this change. While ignoring the warning signs, I was headed for burnout. Friends, let me get transparent and real with you. My natural tendency is to err on the side of caution. I'm not a big fan of risk. I'm just not. So I had what I thought was a well-laid plan. That's why I thought through, okay, how's this going to go? So I decided to give an extended resignation the beginning of July, offering to stay till September because of the role I was in to help with the transition. Then I'd take a short sabbatical the month of September and be back working full-time in October. Sounds like a great plan, doesn't it? It's well laid out. Absolutely, highly intentional. Because I was confident, I had the dream, I had the experience, I had the history, and I was obedient to what I felt God was telling me to do. So when I turned in my notification the beginning of last July, within hours, the construction ahead signs began showing up. The cones were laid out. So instead of waiting 90 days and being done, it was less than 30. Instead of a 1-month sabbatical, I found myself on a 6-month journey of recovering from years of neglecting the warning signs in my life. It was like all the cones that were there, I just went around or went right through. I'll deal with that later. And all of a sudden, God's like, here's the cones in your life. Welcome to road construction. I found myself in a season of silence. And if you've ever been there, or maybe you're there right now, it's to find these fruits and to anchor yourself in these fruits are huge. Okay? I was not anticipating how the quiet would hit me after a lifetime of pursuing levels of achievement. I got a long list of all the items that I had achieved. At first, it was frustrating and I didn't understand. What is going on? I thought we were aligned into the plan for what was going to be ahead. But as time went on, God started to show me that his silence was his kindness. His silence was his kindness. I was in a construction season to address the things I was avoiding in the busyness. I had to deal with all the items below the road. All the items in here. Things like finding my identity in performance instead of Christ, chasing after finances instead of my family's hearts. Pride had taken root in the soil of my heart and was choking out my desire to be obedient. And like Joseph, I found myself in exile, but God was with me. And I'm learning that patience isn't just about waiting. It's actually about an active faith in seasons when things are not as we believe they should be. Let's flip to Moses. He had a calling too. From birth, the events of his life pointed to the future he would one day step into. He was rescued from death and raised in Pharaoh's palace. He was adopted into the royal family, and yet he never forgot his true lineage was part of God's people. And when he saw his people suffering, he wanted to help. But instead of waiting on God's timing, what did he do? He reacted out of anger and fear. Well, I can so relate. Ultimately, killing an Egyptian and then trying to cover it up. Welcome to road construction. In Exodus 2:15, it says, when Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to actually kill Moses, but Moses fled. And where did he end? In the desert for 40 years. In modern times, that's about half a lifetime, but for many in Moses' day, that was a life sentence lived out in a desolate place herding sheep. As an Egyptian, trying to understand the contents is, as an Egyptian prince, I imagine it would have felt like his life was over. You may feel like that today, that your life is over. Where is all this going? God had to strip away Moses' insecurities. His time in the construction zone of the desert not only repaired his trust, it reinforced his restraint and paved the path for obedience. All of these things needed to be constructed so that when Moses heard his name from a burning bush, he would finally be ready to say, "Here I am." I can relate to Moses in so many ways with my own insecurities. When my wife and I, Shelley, met, she was already a mom to 2 young boys. Over time, we became best friends. We're both so chasing after God. And eventually we realized that I just didn't like her. It's like I loved her. I fell in love with her through our friendship and her 2 boys. Shortly after we were married, I knew I was called to be the boys, to be called to be more to the boys than just their mom's husband. It wasn't what I wanted, desired. I was called to be their dad, so I adopted them as my own. I had this vision in my head of what a dad should be. I wanted to be present and active in their lives, not through only being their dad, but also a mentor and friend as they grew older. Like Moses, I knew what I was called to, but I didn't always feel equipped to walk it out. And just like Moses, my early years were filled with a lot of effort, but a lot of hesitation and missteps. I love my boys, but there were moments I let the fear of failure get in the way. Because I was not equipped, I avoided the hard conversations because I was more of a peacekeeper than a peacemaker. And it wasn't until God brought another set of boys into our lives that something shifted. This time around, God had prepared and performed years of improvement projects on my heart and desires to lead from a different place that I had before. So it was that road construction, that upgrade that he had done inside of me. A place of surrender, patience with them and myself. My leadership as a dad flows more out of a place of grace because I'm learning how to show up differently, not perfectly, but faithfully. In order to do that, I had to receive his grace. That was very hard for me to do. Maybe today, part of the road construction is just receiving, really taking in his level of grace. Because I was beating myself up a lot on the earlier. But now I can stand very confidently in leading them. And along the way, I have been blessed and surrounded by other men. It was in community who have helped me grow and understand what it really means to be a dad. Going alone, it's not the item. I tried, not the item. Like Moses, I'm learning that calling doesn't always come with confidence, but it always comes with God's presence. And as you can see, both Joseph and Moses had a calling, but it took years of construction work in their hearts and minds. Both needed time in the quiet for God to do something in them before he could do something through them. I tend to get this backwards, right? I want him to do it through me, but it's like he needs to do something in me first. The cones serve a great purpose in our lives, friend. That's what patience is. It's not doing nothing. It's staying faithful in the process. And just like road construction, what feels like delays is actually upgrades in the making. This next week, I want you to start paying attention to the signs where God is developing the fruit of patience in you. Here are 3 things I really believe you can watch for. The first one, he slows us down to refine us. I can attest that the last 9 months, they're a lot slower than I had hoped. But I wouldn't change it for anything. I'm running at a pace that I need to. And for me, some of the foundational items in my life, all that work underneath, needed to just get rebuilt. And I want to encourage you, for your own self, when you encourage time in your own life when things are going slower than you want, picture an orange safety cone and remember, God is slowing you down for your sake as well as those around you. He's doing a work in your life. Let me share why. In 1 Peter 5:6, it says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." Did you catch the key words? In God's timing? In due time. That means, friends, we can trust God is still working in the situations we face. Life rarely plays out on our time schedule, but it's always the right time when we humble ourselves and wait. He's got you. He's really got you. We see this play over and over in the Bible. The second point that I want to bring to your attention is he teaches us to keep showing up. It's not just to slow down, but to keep showing up. We saw this in Joseph. Joseph served in prison. Moses served in obscurity as a shepherd. But as they served faithful where they were, in due time, they both were lifted up, and the rest is history. For us today, it looks like trusting God by showing up and faithfully doing the work in front of us each day. In Colossians 3:23, whatever you do, what's maybe herding sheep. I don't know if we got any sheep herders in the room here. But whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. So when the cones are down, whatever you do it with all your heart, for you're working for the Lord. In Galatians 6:9, let us not grow weary. If you find yourself today wearisome, let us not grow weary of doing good. For here we go again, in due season we will reap. If we do not give up. So I take this as our road construction is a season, right? There's going to be a season out here. We don't necessarily know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be a season. The key that I want to tell you today is don't give up. It is so easy to want to give up when the road construction is going on. All the deep work being done under the road has a purpose. And if you really take the time to look, there's a lot of work being underneath the surface of this road that's happening just right outside these doors. It's very similar to our own life. He has to do the deep work from a leadership side. He has to do deep work to upgrade us to something higher. Showing up for God is less about doing big things for Him and more about being fully available to Him wherever you are. The third item is He invites us to trust Him with the outcome. God's present, and He's working even when the outcome is uncertain. Over and over again, He calls us to stop trying to control the outcome, but to trust Him in the process. As I thought about it, I went on an early walk this morning. It'd be like me hopping out of the car. Hey, let me just hop on one of the machines. Let me try and control this road. Let me get this thing packed down nice. Not a good idea, friends. It would not be a good idea. It's like that's where we can trust Him in the outcome, that the road will get finished. My role is to stay on the path between the cones. Keep our eyes fixed on Him through this. Because as we keep showing up, walking in obedience, and believing He is good, that's where we stay in our lane during our season of construction. God didn't forget Moses and Joseph, and He hasn't forgotten you. God doesn't always show us the plan, right? But He always promises Himself. For these reasons, we can truly trust Him with the outcome and develop patience in the process. So with that, as the worship team comes forward, I want to invite you to a challenge this week. Wherever you're at, if you feel delayed, maybe stuck, or frustrated when you first walked in, maybe that's the season of where you're at. What I challenge you to do is just name it. Just name it. God loves truth-telling. Just name it for what it was. And by the way, know that I'm still in construction season. It was just yesterday, I was with my wife, and it's like I had to name something I was really frustrated about. So as you name it, write it down, pray about it. The best thing I can tell you is bring it to God. Then ask this: God, what are you building in me here? I'm dealing with this, whatever this is. What are you building in me here? What do you want me to know about this particular area of construction? And without a doubt, I 100% believe as you come into that posture, desiring to want to know, He will share and give you some wisdom and knowledge around that situation. Because maybe what He's doing is He's forming trust. Maybe He's trying to slow you down to heal something you've ignored for years. He's the healer. He wants to teach you something. Maybe, like me, He's just working on an area of unbelief. Whatever the case, He is with you and He's for you. I want you to pay attention to these cones in your life. The things that feel like obstacle might actually be invitations. They're not obstacles. They're invitations. When you see a cone on the road at the construction site or in your spirit, let it be a reminder. God hasn't forgotten about you. Somebody say, God hasn't forgotten about you. He sees you. He is with you. He is forming something in you. Let patience grow. Let the Spirit form what success never could, because in due time, He will lift you up, and the road construction season will pass.